Fellas, how's it going? I am Tayshawn. I'm here with Pastor Ty, and we're here to have a conversation today, fellas. One thing that I realize is that a lot of times we don't talk a lot, we don't process a lot outside. Yep. But when we do talk, and we do have some barbershop talk, some friends talk, that's a good way for men to process a lot of things that we go through. I realized recently, talking to other fellas, that they've been experiencing or thinking or kind of processing a lot of the same things I've been going through. So we wanted to start something that, who knows, it might turn into a series. Just having conversations about my personal experience, his personal experience. In light of Father's Day that's coming up in Juneteenth, we want to talk about and we want to highlight some of the things that we as black males experience. Now, this might be in a couple of different facets, whether the couple of the hats that we wear and things of that nature. But I just want to share my personal experience and Pastor share his personal experience. And if it's something you can relate to, we want you to grow and understand through our experiences and hopefully help navigate this thing called manhood a little bit better, a little bit easier.
Absolutely. I think it's important also to mention something that we talked about even before the cameras was on. I think it's very, very important for you to understand that you are not by yourself. You're not alone. You're not isolated. And so if y'all get anything from what we're saying in our backstories and in our experiences, then that's what this is really all about. So let's jump into it, because I feel like we got a whole lot to talk about and never enough time for topics like this. What do you think is the hardest thing about being a black male in society? I know we're going to get to the workplace. I know we're going to get to family. But in society as a role model, or are there not enough of us in society? Or has our name as father or dad, black father, black dad, been tarnished? Has the bar been lowered? You know what I mean? Like, do they not expect as much from us because a good amount of them might not be there? You know what I mean? Like, what does that look like for you, or what does that feel like when you go out into society or in public?
I feel like this is why we need to have a series, man. We just need to talk about this.
It's a whole lot.
It might end up being that. I feel like, to answer your question, the hardest thing about being a black male in society is being a black male in society. Because it's so much.
And the people that catch it caught it.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
There's probably a lot of people nodding their heads. Defining, and as a man, period, like, I feel like it's very hard, especially nowadays, to define manhood.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I think that's very hard.
Absolutely.
I think that's very hard, because the definition of manhood, I think, is one, in my personal opinion, intentionally being attacked and trying to be changed. And the second one, I think a lot of manhood definition is based on the example of manhood that the particular person has in their life.
Yep.
Which is why there's so many different variations of it.
Yep. So
manhood for me is naturally the man that I had in my household, my father.
Yeah.
And I look at my brothers, I look at my uncles. What do you do when you don't have a man in your household? When you don't have your father in your household? Right. Then you look up to different people that you consider men, and you emulate what they do, and you define what they do as manhood.
Yeah.
So since there's so many different variations of that, so many different role models, what that looks like, I think the definition of manhood is just so different to every person. Yeah. To some people, that's a trigger word. To some people,
absolutely.
It's a taboo word. Masculinity,
toxic masculinity. And so I think one of the things that I've wrestled with in society, and I have, just as you, I got like 15 things running through my mind right now, all at the same time. But I'm hoping that we can get to at least a good amount of them. But one of those things in society is toxic masculinity, where you know, you got to be strong. You got to be a man. You're not allowed to apologize. You're not allowed, you know, to do anything or say anything that makes you look weak or that makes you look feminine. You're not allowed to say, I love you. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of those things that as a man, and depending on how you were brought up, how you were taught, even for society, it's just like, oh, you know, whose standard am I living up to? Like, I know that I learned from a man in my life, but was he right? Because now everybody like this is one thing that I saw. It's like at some point from a boy to a man, it's almost like the rules change.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's like as a boy, it's like, okay, I'm allowed to, you know, play with toys and I'm allowed to sometimes hang around little girls or whatever, and I'm allowed to cry and you know, if I fall down and I scrape my knee, you know, I'm allowed to, you know, wipe my tears, and I got time to get myself together. And at some point when you cross over to manhood, it's like, put that down. Stop crying. Wipe your face. Get up. And it becomes tough because if you don't have a real man in your life to teach you and to show you like, hey, bro, it's okay to cry. You know how old I was before I realized it was okay to cry?
Last week years old.
I mean, like, do you know how many men that could help just to know, like, bro, like it's okay. Like that doesn't make you less of a man that you showed emotion. Or I know we've talked about this and I know we got a bunch of different topics, and so I'm gonna try not to hop and skip all over the place, but I think it is kind of a good segue. You know, we talked one time just about how men still have feelings. So one of the hardest things for me to do, and I'm not going to speak for you, but I'm going to just say for me, one of the hardest things for me to do as a married man, now we cross over to married. I mean, in society that can go, but we might come back to society too. But as a married man, one of the hardest things for me to do was to say, babe, that hurt my feelings.
You hurt my feelings.
And I know we talked about this a little bit before, but I mean, but share how that feels for you. Like, I'm not going to say, is it hard? How hard is it to say that? Do you have to have a wife who understands? Like, if she shuts you down, does that make you want to shrivel up? Like, how do other guys feel about it when you tell other guys that you opened up? You know what I mean? Like, what does that look like for you? How do you feel about that?
So going back to men and emotions, period. Every man has emotions, fella. You got emotions, bro. You feel stuff. And one of the things for me, one of the things why for some reason I can relate to people so much. People in the streets in prison, for some reason I can relate to them so much because I understand pain very well.
Yeah,
I can see it. I can understand pain very well. I mean, naturally, I work in healthcare, so I work with people who are in pain a lot. And I understand it very well because I understand being lonely and feeling like you're misunderstood. And for a fella to feel like you're misunderstood, to be like having a hard time a couple of things. I understand frustration really well. And I can see somebody walking around and say, you're frustrated. I know why you're frustrated. And it comes across as anger because you can't understand why you're feeling some type of way, and you can't articulate that and explain it to somebody. And it takes really a lot of emotional maturity to be able to get to that point. I'm still growing. I'm still getting to that point. But a lot of men never get to that point. Going back to toxic masculinity, because society tells us it's not okay to get to that point. It's not okay to talk things out, to be able to verbalize things out. And we don't have the tools to be able to say what we're feeling inside. And so it just comes across as anger and aggression. And I've been there. And a lot of times when you're black and you're a male and you have anger or aggression, you're going to end up dead or in jail. And so a lot of people...
That's the harsh reality, yeah.
We're not allowed to be... So they're telling us to bottle things up and deal with it. And when we do that, it comes across as anger and aggression. We're seen as intimidating and we're automatically, you know what I mean, profiled. So in that sense, is made for us we're set up. And that's why I answered the hardest thing about being a black male is being a black male. A lot of times we're not given the benefit of a doubt. So this is why I want to talk and stuff like that, because the more we're able to process and understand and grow, understand what true manhood and masculinity is, or redefine that if we don't like the definition in a good way. Yeah. We're able to be healthy. You know what I mean? So we're able to be to a point where we can talk to our wives and say, well, one, we can get to the point where we can get married and have a healthy marriage.
That part too.
So we can be there for our kids.
Absolutely.
So then our kids don't have to go through the same role model. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It all starts with the home. And I think the man is the biggest cornerstone of the household. The household starts with, even biblically, the household starts with the man. And with society, the black male specifically has been stripped from the household. So now you have chaos. So if we can put healthy men back in the household and rebuild things up, then we have a solid foundation where we can talk to our wives about why we feel, how we feel. We have the words to be able to say, that hurt my feelings. Yeah. Because to answer your question, that's not easy.
No, absolutely not. So one thing I was thinking about when you were talking about, even in society, how sometimes as a black man, how you don't feel like you have permission to process. You don't have processing time. You don't have. You're not given permission to. All right, let me think about this. Let me go. Like, how do I really feel about this? You don't always have words to put with your thoughts. You don't know how you feel about. Sometimes you're just angry and you want to go burn the city down. I don't have no words for it, so let me just express it the way I know how to express it. Right. So to kind of bring it full circle, what you were saying, even about the household. Like, because you don't get that same grace from everybody else in society, then when you come home, it's like that's where you want to have that grace. Yes. I need that grace at home. I need a safe space where I can detox, where I can unload, where I can dump, and nobody's gonna judge me, nobody's gonna shoot me, nobody's gonna arrest me, nobody's gonna chastise me, nobody's gonna beat me up about this. But it's a hard place too, because also at home, you got to be that strong husband for your wife. Right. We got some strong black women. I'm not taking that away from any of them. Facts. But as a man, you want to be that strong black man, that strong black husband in your household. And so for you trying to keep it together for your house, your wife, and as a father, having kids as well, let me hold it together. Let me keep it together for my kids. I don't want them to see me cry. I don't want them to see me struggle. I don't want them to see this get to me. When you come home, it's like, man, it's a tough thing to do, to say, man, you know what? When I look at this on the news, this hurts. It hurts. It hurts. When I'm looking and, you know, I got to turn the channel because my daughter or my son is sitting there and I don't want them to see it. I'm like, gosh, this hurts. And it's hard to admit that. It's hard even to have a conversation with them. I mean, your wife as well, but it's hard to have a conversation with your children and be vulnerable and be wide open, because it's like, you got to be daddy. Yeah. You got to be strong daddy. I mean, you got to be strong husband, and that's how everybody sees you, and you feel the pressure of having to live up to
those standards,
what they expect of you.
This is my first jewel that I'm gonna give you 2 pieces of advice.
Drop them.
Women, if you're watching, a lot of women like to watch men stuff because they want to.
They want to know what they're thinking.
They want to see how.
Because y'all don't never talk about nothing.
So I'm gonna talk to you. I'm gonna talk to you. Women, going back to what he said, the household needs to be. We go through so much stuff outside of those doors.
It's good what you about to say.
When we come to this house, we need peace. We don't need to fight you as well. Yeah. We don't need to wrestle everything outside and then not be able to find peace in our home. Yep. Because if that's the case, we might as well duke it out in the streets. We might as well go out. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Be a person that can replenish and rejuvenate your man. Mm-hmm. Even if he's not technically everything that he needs to be for you, he's working on it. If you give him what he needs, I promise you he will change and he will give you what you need. Don't be... The last thing we need after being beat up all day at work and all of that type of stuff by society is to come home and to feel like I got to still carry those bags because I'm getting beat up on my wife.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't do this right. You didn't do that right. You didn't do this right. You didn't do right. You know, they'll call it nagging. They call it nagging. At least at least give a man time to be able to decompress, a safe place to decompress, whether it's a man cave or room. That's why most people have man cave. I need a room where I can just, don't press that. That's all I'm saying. Give him space. Be that person. Be that one person that he can come to and just unload on and feel vulnerable.
Or even
because
some people
I
have
can't
heard
be vulnerable nowhere else.
Some people have heard it referred to as a nothing box too.
A nothing box.
Which seems ridiculous, you know, but
There's
for me it's just like, this is where I'm just like, I'm taking off all the pressures of the day. I'm taking off everything that happened. And I literally could be staring at a wall.
I don't want to think about nothing. Don't ask me nothing. I don't want to do nothing. Just give me some time.
Go ahead.
But fellas, I'm going to give you a jewel as well. Fellas need other fellas. Men need other men. You need that time where I can talk, where I could. You're gonna feel like you're going crazy. Yeah. If not, you need some time where you can be around somebody else and just. I mean, we ain't got to talk about sports all the time. Like, check in on your homie. Yeah. Hey, bro, what's up? What's going on?
Yep.
Or if they don't feel like opening up, when me and my homie start actually talking about what's going on in marriage, what's going on in real life, it really helped me feel like, all right, I'm not the only one going through. I'm not crazy. Okay, cool. Let's get that, and then we can come home and I can unload in that way as well. Yeah. So lean on your brothers, lean on the fellas that are around you because it's important. Like, absolutely, you need that time.
Yeah. So how hard was it for you to find solid guys that you felt like, man, you know what? I don't even second guess it. I know I can share. I know I can be vulnerable. And he ain't gonna look at me crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, how? Because I can imagine that there are a bunch of guys that's just like, bro, I don't know if I got that guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might have 3 of them, but it's a lot of people struggling. Just like, bro, I don't got one. If you got one, right? If you got one, take advantage of that one. But sometimes it is hard to find solid people. But you'd be surprised how often when you actually take the initiative.
That's what I was about to say.
And you say, hey, bro, let's catch up for lunch. Hey, bro, let's go out to dinner. Hey, let's go out and just get some shots up. You know what I'm saying? You hang out, you end up talking. Next thing you know, you just like, bro, let me be honest with you. This is what's going on. Yeah. I've talked to people before in scenarios just like that. And after I shared, they say, me too.
That's what it takes.
It's just like, bro, like, why didn't you say something? Like, why'd you tell me?
It looks different for everybody. You could be on the headset playing Xbox, you know, playing the duty or playing 2K or whatever like that, and still talking about it while you're getting buckets. Yeah. So it don't have to look like a therapy session or nothing like that. Yeah. But you have them. I guarantee you got that person because everybody's hurting.
Absolutely.
Hurting. So it takes that one person to break the ice and be like, man, work was crazy today. Or something, whatever's frustrating you, get off your mind. Because I guarantee you, if he's not going through it, he's experienced it. Yeah. If he hasn't experienced it, he's going to experience it. And that conversation is really going to go a long way.
Absolutely. I think I told my wife, we were laughing because I was planning out, I think, a men's conference last year. And I told her, I said, man, you know what? Men don't really ask for a whole lot. I said, honestly, I could rent out a gym. We could hoop for an hour. We could sit down, crack the Bible open and be like, hey, fellas, we just going to have a little Bible study for about 15, 20 minutes, chop it up, talk a little bit, see what y'all dealing with, what y'all going through, get back up and hoop. And for a good amount of them, us just hooping was all they needed. It was just like, look, this will open me up. Therapy. This will open me up. Whatever you want to tell me for this 15, 20 minutes and walk through the word, I'm all right, I'll sit down and I'll listen because this is the thing that opened me up to be able to talk. And like, I don't know. And I know, you know, a lot of females do understand that this is not me giving guys an out to be playing basketball for 10 hours, you know what I mean? And not coming home or not telling your wife where you at. That's not that. Thanks. But at the same time, it's like to have that out, to do something that is not completely structured or you know how it is, guys. Sometimes, guys sometimes they shut down when they know, oh, here we go, about to go into a counseling session. Oh, you know, we about to. I know homeboy said he want to get up, but all he want to do is talk. You know what I'm saying? It has
to be organic.
Absolutely, and so it causes you to break down your barriers when it's just like, let's chill, let's relax, let's just chop it up.
Yeah.
Let's just talk, Brian. And this might sound crazy, even as a believer, even as a Christian, it's like, you'll find out that sometimes when talking with guys, like, they don't necessarily want to hear Bible talk. They don't necessarily want to hear scripture. They just want to hear, me too.
Yeah.
They want to hear you say, bro, I've been there before. I've been there. Yeah.
So it's like,
absolutely,
show me how to get through the maze. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're not adding to me, then you're just another problem. You're wasting my, like, I got all these things to figure out. Right. If you're not,
so what are we doing here right now? Right. Exactly.
So another thing, I'm going to help you out. This is the third jewel. I hope y'all count and write it down. Fellas, when you're at home, because you said something, you got to be strong for your wife. You got to be strong for family. You got to be strong for your kids, all this type of thing.
Absolutely.
One thing I would suggest, and it's different for everybody, but allow yourself to show your family your vulnerability side. Mm-hmm. This is why I say that. Woo. I had never seen my dad get frustrated, cry, show any signs of weakness for a longest time, my whole time growing up. So I thought he was perfect. So then
that's good.
That's training without saying it verbally. Yeah. My identity of masculinity, of manhood, because again, that's my role model. That, you don't never show no weakness.
That's so good.
He never was weak.
That's so good.
He was Superman. Mm-hmm. And then when life comes at you, you just like, wait, what is this? And you don't know how to handle it. Yeah. The one time I saw my father vulnerable is when his father died, when my grandfather died. And then I just seen a completely different side of him. Yeah. And that brought us closer. Mm-hmm. And that made me realize, like, oh man, you bleed too. Like, it's okay.
Ain't that something?
You know what I mean? Yeah. And that did wonders to our, because, growing up in, you kind of go through that phase where, I'm kind of growing up. I'm 13 at my, that teenage years where we start butting heads a little bit. Yeah. But after getting on the other side of that and seeing how vulnerable he was after his father passed away, it brought us a lot closer, because I was like, you are human. Yeah. You know what I mean? You do. And it's okay. Like, I don't respect you any less for that. Yeah. I don't respect you any less for that. It actually helps me go through life is like better. You know what I mean? Right. So do that. Now, obviously, you got to manage how you're going to do that, right?
Absolutely.
But showing at least a little bit of how to get through different circumstances, scenarios is going to be good. Show affection. Yeah. Show your wife, you know what I mean, some affection in front of the kids to an appropriate degree.
You're right.
So that they can see, to be a man, you ain't got to be a player. You ain't got to be like, absolutely. You know what I'm saying, keep them at a distance.
Absolutely.
You could be masculine and still, like, I love my daughter to death. I thought things changed when I had a daughter.
Oh, absolutely. You did. Baby girl changes everything.
Being able to show that and display that and not being afraid to show that, let's young boys know especially that being a man is so multidimensional. Yeah. It's not just one lane. Like, we got emotions, we got feelings, we got highs, we got lows. We can be funny, we can be stern, we can be disciplinarians, but we can be cool at the same time. We can be affectionate. Yeah. And none of that is feminine. It's not feminine to be affectionate.
Right. So one of the things that I've learned also is that how people think it's a sign of weakness to be vulnerable. Mm-hmm. It's a sign of weakness to be in touch with your feelings or your thoughts, right? But for me, it's like, I think it's the complete opposite. Like, for me, it takes a stronger man to be able to say, bro, that hurt. Like, I feel some kind of way, or I'm messed up, or to be vulnerable and open than it does for a man who's not confident in how he feels, or not in touch with his feelings to a certain extent, or who does not know how to express it. So then for that same father, who is assumed to be Superman because he doesn't have any flaws or weaknesses, then it's like, and not to say that that's his situation, right, but then you consider, like, I wonder how many men are not vulnerable because they don't know what it is they're dealing with. Like they don't know what it is. They don't have language for their emotions yet. And so like how can I explain this to my child? Like how can I tell my child that I am grieving? It feels like a knife has been thrust into my heart. I don't want to live. Like, how do I explain that to my son right now? So let me work through it. Let me process through it. And then when I get to a place where I'm strong enough, let me deliver it. But at the same time, like having that outlet where you still can. I'll share this one thing and then I'll move on. One of the hardest things that I had to deal with was just 2022. 3 years ago, I lost one of my best friends.
It's 3 years already.
3 years. 3 years. And I got a call that said, hey, he went to the hospital. And so I was like, all right, cool. I mean, it's just like anytime you hear about somebody goes to the hospital, it's just like, okay. But then it seemed like things escalated really fast. To the point where I get another call where it's just like, hey, it's not looking good. And then I'm like, wait, what do you mean? Like, right. I've had plenty of sinus infections. Like, no, it doesn't go this way. And then the third call I got was, hey, we lost him. And then it's like, no. But just yesterday, like everything was cool. Like what happened? Like, what am I missing? Right. So I remember like it was yesterday. This happened on a Tuesday, I believe it was on a Tuesday, because the very next day we had, at the time it was called Life and Coffee, where I was encouraging the church. And for a minute I thought like, man, I don't have any words for this. Even for my wife, she was really good friends with him too. And I didn't have any words for her. And so I had to process it myself. I had to process it within myself. And then once I settled it within myself, then I was able to say, this hurts. This hurts. Like, I can't even, it took me at least probably about 2-3 days before I could even go on social media to everybody's on there like, hey, my brother, man, we miss him. It took me about 3 days for me to say anything just because I was just like, I need to process through this. And the amazing thing about my wife in this situation and the support system I have around me is they allowed me that grace to be vulnerable and didn't look at me like, but you passed the tie. You passed it. Like, you supposed to have a word for us today. I don't care what you went through yesterday. You supposed to have a word. But gave me that grace just to sort through how I felt about it, to talk through how I felt about it, to admit that it really, really hurt and I don't know what to say about this right now. Right. To admit, if I'm being honest, man, my faith just took a hit. You know what I'm saying? All right, God, we pray. All right, they get better. They come out. God, I'm believing in you. We standing on your word, pleading the blood of Jesus. God, you got this. And then they die. And it's just like, wait a minute, but I'm a man of faith. Like, I don't have no category for this. Things always work out. I don't have, like, where do I put this? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it goes back to where the rules change again, because as a boy, it's like, hey, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes things don't work. We can cry, we can, all of that. And when you become a man, it's just like, all right, it happens. Keep moving. And people don't know how to keep moving. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, just having those people, those places, that support system where you can be vulnerable.
Because you can't do it to everybody. You
can't.
I was taught, and I don't even know, the crazy thing, I don't even know who taught me this or where I learned it from, but you understand that you never give somebody a stick to beat you with. So this is the reason why men don't be vulnerable, and why men, another reason, not the reason, but another reason why I'm not going to be vulnerable. Because if I'm constantly on the defense and it's constantly being attacked, if I tell you, it's not that I'm showing weakness, I'm showing a weakness. Absolutely. And a weakness is a point of entry. Absolutely. So if everybody's trying to attack me and they know that this is, this is getting to me, then that's the easier place for you to attack me.
Yeah.
And I'm showing you how to beat me, how to defeat
Yeah.
me. And as a man, if you feel like everybody is always coming at you, constantly fighting, I'm not going to show you any level of weakness to me, because there is no weakness.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly going to be on the defensive. In the
Yeah.
streets, in prison, in the jails, you constantly like that, because you always have to watch your back.
Constantly.
And so and that's something I understand. I get it.
It's draining too.
I get it. And it's draining. Oh my gosh, it's so tiring.
It's draining.
So and you never realize that you have certain mentalities until you see things a different way. I told my wife, I was like, I envy you. She was like, why?
Where's this going?
I'm like, because you get to relax. Like, your life is so peaceful. And when I had a child, oh my goodness, it went to another degree.
Yeah.
Your life is so peaceful, and there's so many things you don't have to worry about.
Yeah.
We're in the car talking, and literally every 3 seconds, I'm checking mirrors. Because we're parked. We're in a parking lot. I'm checking mirrors. I'm checking what's around me.
I see where you yeah.
There's always, certain security tools close by. In my house, I got make sure everything's protected. You know what I mean?
We
locks and locks here, cameras there,
extra
security
protection
there,
too.
all those type of things. And it's like, you're always almost thinking worst case scenario.
Oh yeah.
And my wife, she's just like, she fell asleep in the car, and we're parked in a parking lot. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not what you do. Because anybody can sneak. I mean, any given time, like, I'm always teaching her
Always on guard.
certain things that she never has to really worry about. You know what I mean? And if you grew up in the city, you might have learned these things, street smarts, whatever you want to call it.
I had to learn those things when we coming up.
But certain things, it's like you're always on guard, and you're always considering different things. And it's exhausting. Mentally, it's exhausting. And a lot of times I would get frustrated with her. Not because I'm mad, but just because I'm exhausted mentally at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And she'll ask me something simple, and I'm like, I don't have the capacity for that.
Yeah.
So it's exhausting when you're constantly on the defense. But if you're constantly feeling like you're attacked, I'm not going to tell you, my enemy. If everybody's your enemy, there's nobody I can tell that.
Yeah.
Listen, I feel weak now. I feel hurt now, because that's a point of entry.
Yeah.
Now, going back to what I said, ladies, this is another thing for you. Don't be a man's enemy. Don't be your husband's enemy. Because for some reason, the black male and the black female tend to butt heads in a relationship. And it tends to be a power struggle. Oh, I don't need you. It's women out here celebrating Father's Day.
Yeah. Yep. You're absolutely right.
Let's talk
absolutely
about that.
right.
You know what I mean? Because they're saying I'm the mother and the father. No disrespect to you, but you can never be a father. You can never offer what that man is offering.
All respect.
There's no way possible you can. Whether he's a bad role model and you feel like you do better, okay, that's one thing. I'm not really talking about the example that particular man has, but what a male figure has to offer can only be delivered by a male figure.
There's absolutely much respect for that, because I think anybody in a single parent home, whether they are a male or a female, right? I can't even imagine or begin to try to imagine that. But for a female to try to take that on, I know it is a lot, but that's why the male figure is needed. It takes both, so much. So it's a couple of things that you said, and I want to take something that you said and kind of segue into something else as well. What you were saying about the weaknesses, I think that's why it's very, very important as well, that we have these healthy
that safe space.
Marriages, right? Having that safe space, because if I can't trust the person in my safe space, where am I going? Like what do I have? And so I don't, if I can't trust that I can share this in confidentiality, and that this is not going to come up in an argument later, and you're going to throw it back in my face, right? Then I don't have a safe space. What you were talking about, about always constantly being on guard, and it just being draining over time. And just kind of maybe, I think you said just constantly feeling like you're being attacked throughout the day might be a good segue even into corporate America or the job. Because when you're, and so before we moved down to Charlotte, I was in corporate America, and I absolutely understand what it looks like for a black man in corporate America. for you to have to feel like you have to put on for certain people. You got to dance when they play the music. You got to chase the carrot almost to kind of work your way up. And once you get to a certain level, then it's like you can, I can let it all hang out. Now I can just be myself. But until you get there, it's almost like you sometimes feel like you got to do extra. And I'm gonna let you speak to this, but I've had moments where it'll be a store that I go into dressed up, got on my little tie, my little button up, tucked into my pants, my slacks on, get really nice treatment. Walk into the same store on a Friday, dress down, jeans, throw on a t-shirt, walk in there, and the service is completely different. I'm like, what changed? Like, but feeling like sometimes you have to put on as a black man, all right, y'all always aggressive, y'all always so loud, y'all always so angry, just like the narrative with black women. So it's just like I gotta smile 2-3 times as big so that they know that I'm approachable. So they know that I'm nice. Like I'm a good guy. Hey guys, it's okay to come sit by me. Safe. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like I'm a safe, like people don't know that I'm a pastor. Yeah. You know what I mean? But they'll see you and then it's just like, oh, he's just like, and so you feel like if you put on certain clothes, maybe you'll see, all right, maybe I'm not, but sometimes you don't. But just how does that work for you? Obviously being a doctor in the corporate of corporates, and dealing with so many patients and even people in the workplace.
Man, one of the hardest transitions in my life was graduating from school with my doctorate degree. Because then it's like now I'm stamped with a title that launches you into this prestige place right here. And it comes with a weight that I didn't know how to carry. I didn't know if I should carry it or anything like that.
I think this is about to be really good because you would think you get that doctor title and you like, I've arrived. I'm a black man. I'm a doctor. We good.
There was more weight.
Talk about it.
It was way more weight. And then it's like, I felt like my degree and my credentials didn't validate me. Because even though I'm there, like I'm in the hospitals, I'm working, I got the badge, I got all this type of stuff. So obviously I'm qualified to be here, but I still felt like that wasn't enough. Like I had to work hard to look non-threatening. Yeah. And again, it's exhausting going on a whole day trying your hardest to look non-threatening. For some reason, it's so hard for me to feel like I could just come to work as is. I couldn't come to work as is. Because if I come to work as is, I'm getting misinterpreted in some way.
Absolutely.
I don't dress like that. I'm fresh off of work now, so that's why you see polo on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have tattoos. I have a chest sleeve of tattoos. So when I first started, I'm like, I got to cover these up. People ain't going to understand this.
There's stereotypes
on this skin. I got to cover these up. So I couldn't wear a polo. I was too subconscious about it because I'm treating a population that's vulnerable, that's sick or hurt, and I come in there, and if they see me, they're gonna, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or
find another doctor,
or find another person. I mean, all of that type of stuff. So I felt, you talking about code switching, I felt like I had to switch so much about me just to be acceptable or accepted. There were a bunch of things that I didn't do. If I was in the room with, I would always take the stairs. I worked on like the second or third floor, depending on which area it was. I would always take the stairs because I didn't feel comfortable being in an elevator alone with another female.
I can see that.
If any scenario where it's your word versus mine, I would always take the stairs.
I can see that. Yeah.
If ever I had,
that's something that a lot of people don't think about. So if you're not a black male in society, those are things that you don't think twice about. Where it's just like, wait. Yep. Oh, I get it. But it comes naturally for the black male. It's just like, yeah, definitely.
Anytime in an exam room or a procedure room where I had to be alone, I would always have to make sure somebody else is in there with me. Or I would just make sure I put myself in a situation where it's never a closed off environment with me and another female. Yeah. And I do physical therapy, so a lot of times we have to, You know what I mean? I would
You have to
always
touch people.
over-educate.
Yeah.
If I gotta touch your hips, touch your glutes, touch in your armpit where I'm
Yeah.
close to your chest area, always over-educate. Is it okay if I kind of feel around in this area? Is it okay if I'm looking for this, that, and the third? Is it okay? I would use.
That's good.
I would kind of overemphasize how much I know into a region to make sure that people knew that I was qualified to do what I was doing with them.
Yeah, you're doing extra work.
From my colleagues, I would always try to make sure they knew how qualified
I belong here.
I would try to fit into their world.
Yeah.
Instead of them fitting into our world. And then when I got off of work, I could be me.
Yeah.
And I was just trained that way. That's just how it always was. Because when I was in grad school, there's not a lot of. I was the only one. It was just me. So I had the frat to fall back on. So I would after school, I'm with a completely different person. Yeah. After work, I'm a completely different person. And I felt like I had to leave me at home or me in a car in a parking lot, put on somebody else to go to work.
Yeah.
And that's exhausting. Again, it's exhausting. I'm just now getting to the point within the past couple of years where I'm like,
you feel comfortable.
Take it or leave it. It's me.
Yeah. So now this was some years ago, but my senior year in high school, I transferred to a private school to play basketball, predominantly white school. It took me literally about half a year for me. We were halfway through the school year before I felt comfortable enough to invite them into my world. Because I felt like every day, like,
I gotta go into your world.
I gotta fit into the conversation. I have to inject myself into the conversation. So when y'all talking about paintball, which I wasn't into paintball in high school.
Yeah.
Paintball in the woods. I ain't talking about going to a facility. I'm talking about out in the woods, right? I'm talking about what's it called? Where you take your Jeep out in the dirt, mudding.
Mud and stuff.
I wasn't on that. Like, and even a bunch of the video games, like a bunch of the stuff.
It's just different.
Yeah, it is. And so I had to inject myself into it. And so if I didn't understand their language or what they were talking about, I had to educate myself on it so that I could inject myself into the conversation.
Movie references. I don't watch those movies.
But how often did they ask my interest? Or how often did I just be myself to invite them into my world? I didn't until halfway through the school year where I felt comfortable enough to say, man, you know what? I'm going to just be me. Like, and if this is what they like, then that's what they get. If they don't like it, then you've given yourself permission to excuse yourself. You know what I'm saying? But that's still hard, though. That doesn't make it any easier to still do it. But you just kind of, it is absolutely double work. And I think that you hit the nail on the head when you were just saying, like, feeling like you had to, that you had to prove how much you knew just to fit in. Or even for me, sometimes feeling like, even if I'm in the grocery store behind an elderly white woman, I feel like I almost have to speak first.
Yeah.
I have to smile bigger. I have to be a little bit more congenial than I would where if it was a black guy next to me where I was just like, what up, bro?
What's up, bro?
But I almost have to do 3 times as much work just to let you know, hey, I'm not a threat.
I think one of the hard things and one of the reasons why I work so hard is because there are no role models. There are not many of us in that workplace. So if they see, if I have an intern or something like that or somebody to come in or and they see a black male that looks like them, that speaks their language, this from their same culture, it's like, oh man. So I can come to work and be me. I can be successful. The other day, earlier this week, I was out. It was me, another physician, and one of the other fellas that's a VP of a marketing firm here recently. We're all friends, all homies, all tatted up, all cool and stuff like that, but all corporately very, very successful. Yeah. And it was cool. It was like, look at us. Yeah. That doesn't happen too often. Most of the males I see in the hospital are janitors. Yeah. They're cleaning up the room after I leave. And so that's just the extent when you think about a physician or a doctor or something like that, this is not what you envision. Especially not somebody like this and, that kind of walks the way that I walk with that little swag and stuff like that. So there's plenty of patients that I've had that come in and when I see them and they see me, it's like, all right.
Yeah.
What's going on with you? Tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, for the first time I could talk. And I'm telling them like, oh no, you need to go back to this person and do this and do this and do this. And I'm educating them on what we call healthcare literacy and like getting what you need from your providers and from your doctors because they haven't been able to have that conversation.
Yeah.
And so I'm answering tons of questions. I'm spending extra time with them. I'm answering questions about medications and this is what you need to do. Make sure you do this. I'm talking to them about their cousins. And stuff like that because they don't have the opportunity to see somebody that looks like me that understands where they're coming from, understands the way they live, and can tailor what they need to fit their box.
Yeah.
Like you said, enter their world instead of them having to enter somebody
Because
else.
I can imagine it's a bunch of people who on that note probably go to the doctor. And for me in a situation where, and I guess I'll use me for example, but I know that there's more people than just me, where I would go to a doctor and it'll be an older white male. And me feeling like, gosh, I don't want him to see me as just this typical black guy who's not taking care of his body, not taking care of his life. And not that you would lie about your health at all, but feeling like, oh man, I don't feel like, I don't know if I want to tell him everything because man, this is kind of embarrassing. But when you see somebody that looks like you, it's like, even if y'all don't got nothing in common, but just to see somebody that looks like you, it's like, bro, you know what I mean? Then it's just like, okay, yeah, this is what I've been going through. You know good and well, diabetes been running through our family for the last 5 generations. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a little bit, it makes it a little bit easier to open up. Let me ask you this. Do you feel the pressure, or what does that look like, of you having to, maybe people of other persuasions and you being the only black man there, or maybe a minority, and the pressure of, if I mess this up, then this is how they see black doctors around the world, or having to maintain a standard of excellence? What does that look like for you?
I used to carry that
either
weight.
In that profession or even in society.
I used to carry that weight. Again, going on with the title, that there's not many of us here. So I got to represent for the whole race. And that's another heavy weight. Again, these are weights that personally I've shed in the past couple of years, but it took conversations like this for me to realize that it's okay to let it down. Yeah. Like I represent me and my family.
Yeah, right. Like
I don't represent every black person that you see. We're not all the same.
That's tough. Yeah.
We're not all the same. There's some black people to play. What's the game? Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
I don't know nothing about that game, but apparently it's like pretty nerdy and like Harry Potter or something like that. I don't know. There's some black people to play it.
Yeah.
There's some black people to play too. I mean, I get into golfing now. I go golf. That's not typically a black thing. Man, I go out, ain't nothing but brothers on the course. Yeah. And it feels good. It's like, all right, cool. So we're not all the same. So it's not really fair to be like, oh, you're the only one we see. So you represent them all. Yeah. And oh my gosh, who'd you vote for?
Gosh.
Who did you vote for?
Gosh.
Don't, certain things, the way you answer is like, I represent the whole, you know what I mean? The whole brotherhood. Yeah. All black people. And it's not the case, but you feel that way. And
you absolutely feel it, yeah.
It's a very heavy weight when you're the only representation of everybody that looks like you. Yeah. And a lot of times I'm the only black person that people interact with. Ever.
I think that's
I've had somebody say to me, "Oh, y'all not that bad."
Gosh. Bro, that's not a compliment.
Oh, y'all not that bad after all.
No. No, absolutely not.
This is another pro. Don't say that.
Don't say that.
Don't say that, Dust.
Don't say that.
But again, it's crazy. One of the things that I realized, man, and why I'm so good where I'm at right now, and if anything that you guys can get, man, it's okay. It's okay for you to make decisions based on how you need to make decisions. You want to be I just represent myself. I don't represent all the black people no more. I don't represent every doctor on this earth no more. I don't represent, you know what I mean? Take it or leave it. My uniqueness is what makes the world, is my contribution to the world. My uniqueness is my contribution to the world. If I try to be what a man should be, and that means I got to hold back pieces of myself, then I'm not offering my true in everything that I can offer. And that's hard for me. I'm not going to live to my fullest potential unless I give people my perspective of things. That's all I can offer, even on this video.
Yeah.
It's just my perspective of things. If this helps somebody, then so be it. Because somebody probably is going to go through or has gone through some of these same things. And my perspective can offer you a little bit of clarity. And now you feel like you're not crazy. Because for me, the hardest thing in my life was feeling misunderstood.
Gosh.
That's a lonely place.
Yeah.
Feeling misunderstood is a
Completely
very
isolated.
lonely place.
Yeah.
And it's isolation. Being isolated in your mind is it's a hard thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's just one thing that's like, oh, I understand that. I feel that, bro. It can mean so much.
Yeah.
And that's all I want to say.
And that's what all of this is about. This whole conversation, just really so that people can know, me too. I dealt with this before too. Right. I've been there before too. Even if it's not the same exact situation, obviously I've not been through everything that you've been through. God knows I've not been through everything people who watch this video have gone through. Right. But at the same time, to have that space and that place where you have somebody who you can talk to about those things, like, you don't understand how vital it has been for me to have fellas around me just be able to talk. Yeah. Bro, that is the testimony of my life. Like, I mean, one of the most important things that has really kept me, or at least my sanity throughout the years, is always having at least one. Now, there's been some seasons where it's been slim, but at least one person where I can go to and I can say, look, this is what it is. This is how I feel. This is what's going on. And somebody that's not going to be judgmental. And so that's absolutely what all of this is for. It's just for us to be able to create a space for somebody. Matter of fact, I would even almost encourage somebody who's listening, like, whether it's drop it in the comments, whether you send a direct message, please reach out to us. I make time. Yeah. I make time, and even on social media, people who follow me on social media, they know I make time, and I try my best to reply to everybody, especially if it's something serious or something sincere. Yeah. You know what I mean? You make time for it. And so I'm appreciative of this time that we have to be able to talk like this as well, because I believe as a result of us kind of putting this conversation on display, I think people can see that just as simple as we were having a conversation right here, that's how simple that you can have these conversations with people in your circle, or even if you need to reach out to us again, like that's how simple it is. Yeah. It just starts with a conversation, just to begin to let down those barriers. Yeah. Do you have any parting words or anything that you want to share before we finish up as a black man, a black father, a black man in corporate America, a black man in society? Man, you wear a bunch of hats. For the man who's watching this right now, is there any parting words that you want to share?
I'm gonna ask you one word. I'm gonna ask you one question to end out too.
Yeah.
But to answer that, what I encourage you to do, I mean, find that place. Every man needs that safe place. Whether absolutely you got to get it out. You deal with too much, absolutely. And whether you realize it or not, too much is thrown at you to not have that safe place to just let it go. You know what I'm saying? So find out what that is for you. If that needs to be a person, find that person, or be that person for somebody else. But just find that, because again, if we hold it in, we get killed or we get tossed in jail. And in prison, you definitely ain't gonna find that safe place. I had a homie actually that was locked up that just recently was incarcerated and is now on probation or on parole. He said, when you're locked up, you literally have to go insane to stay sane. In order to not lose your sanity, and people, if you've been there, you're gonna know what I'm going with this. You're gonna know what I'm talking about. You see so many things that are unnatural, and you experience so many things that humans shouldn't have to experience, that you literally, and a lot of people in the street life as well, like, again, I understand it very well. You have to go insane in order to stay sane. Because if not, you're going to lose it. Yeah. So again, with knowing that those are the two directions that happen, if we bottle it in, you got to find that safe place, man. It's just too much on the line. Yeah. It's too much on the line. Definitely. Find something that you want to change to make it better for your next generation.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to make sure the people coming behind you, whether you got a son, whether you got kids, even daughters, are going to make sure they're not going through the same thing that you're going through?
Yeah.
Our whole goal is to make it better for the person in front of us, you know what I mean, or behind us. And so be that role model. If there are no role models out there that you can look up to, make sure you're something that somebody else can look up to.
Exactly. Sure. Yeah, that's really good.
And one thing I want to ask you to close, because I've got it all out for this time. Again, we might have to continue this conversation.
All of these go deep.
On some type of thing.
All of these go much deeper.
You have a son.
Mm-hmm.
What would you tell him? What a piece of advice would you tell him to prepare him for adulthood? I'm not even gonna say manhood, for adulthood.
Man, there's a bunch of them. I really do wish I could just pick one, but I don't know if I can, just because I feel like somebody said this. They said, "Well, your son light skinned, so he might get a little pet." Nah, bruh. Bruh. Yeah, don't fall for it. There's so many things that I want to caution him on, and I'll preface it by saying this before as I'm giving the answer. I am sometimes, used to be really, but I am sometimes really tough on my kids. And I really had to pray about it, because I'm like, maybe I need to, is it something that I'm dealing with on the inside? Like, why am I projecting this on them? And it wasn't until I prayed about it that I really realized, like, it's really coming from a place of love, where I'm just like, I love you so much. I really, really want you to get it. Like, and I'm answering the question by giving this preface. Sure. Like, I love them so much that I'm like, I have to be hard on you, because if I'm not, then somebody on the street is. Like, if I don't smack your wrist, somebody else is going to do it out there. Like, if I don't correct you, somebody else is going to do it, but they're not going to do it in a loving way. Like, it's not going to be with love out there. And so, but once I prayed about it, and I came to that realization, like, man, I love you so much that I need to be hard on you, because I don't want you to go out there and ruin your life. Mm-hmm. Once I realized that, then it was just like, okay, let me take a step back, because I don't want to push him away either by being so hard. And so I guess with all of that said, I think I would really challenge him to just be himself. Like, at the end of the day, and that's a hard thing for me to say, because then with that also comes, well, but what if he ends up doing something I don't approve of, on account of, well, I'm just, this is what I'm feeling right now. This is what I want to do. That's tough. Excuse me. Or even now, it's a situation where he's 4 years old. He still whines a lot. He kind of sings all his words. Daddy, can I get on that? And for me, as a man, bro, stop whining. You know what I mean? Yeah. But at the same time, I was joking with my wife one day. I said, man, wouldn't it be crazy if this man end up getting rich off of a whining voice somehow? I don't know. You know how social media said anything can go viral. I'm just like, what if this is something that he might possibly be able to use down the line? Like, what if I just don't recognize, and I'm telling him stop.
And that's his golden ticket.
Yeah, like, what if? And so that's why I say that, like, just to be yourself. And I'm learning that myself as well, to be able to be patient enough to say, you know what, this might be a gift. Like, let me let you play with that a little bit. My wife is really good at that. Well, she'll give them space sometimes to mess things up, because she's like, they need to learn in a safe place, in a safe environment, where we've put all safety precautions in place. Okay, they might fall. He got a little climbing wall upstairs. He's going to fall, but he needs that space to be able to do it, to explore. So yeah, to answer your question is just to be yourself. And I know that's kind of general, but I mean, that's what I believe will open up kind of the path for, him to really flourish, to fit in every area.
Yeah, that's crazy, because that is a deep balance. Like, how do I prepare you for life? Do I mimic what you're going to experience out there, or like your wife is saying, or
right, right,
or like your wife is saying, give you the safe space to be able to learn your lessons in here, but also be able to bend down and pick you up when you fall. And that's how my wife is. And the answer is it takes both.
It takes both.
That's why it takes mommy and it takes daddy.
Absolutely
It takes both. And that's
absolutely,
again, the household, man, that family structure is so important. In society, the enemy is attacking that family structure like crazy.
Yeah.
Because if you have a dysfunctional family, you're going to create a dysfunctional person, and that's going to be dysfunctional in society.
Yeah. Yeah. And we trying our best to end this.
That's a whole, I was about to say that's a whole.
You about to get me into
whole
something.
other conversation, man. That's gonna be a separate part, man.
Yeah, it
I'm
has
gonna
to be.
I'm gonna let you close
so
it out.
It has to
Don't
be.
bring up no more good points.
No, I'm not. I got one, but yeah, we absolutely gonna have to do this again.
For sure.
Yeah, I absolutely would love. I want to go ahead and pray, man, just because I feel like this is the appropriate opportunity. For everybody who's watching, just for us to be able to encourage you in this way. Mm-hmm. So God, we thank you for this opportunity for us to be able to share with men. Maybe it's a woman or women, watching this as well. I pray that they'll be able to take this information to the men that they love as well. Just like Tayshawn said, to be able to be a change agent for the generation that's coming behind us, to look for role models that we have before us. God, I just thank you for giving us the grace that we need to navigate our feelings, to navigate our emotions, to be able to be who you have made us and created us to be. Even right now, God, I pray for protection. I pray that you'll cover us. I pray that you'll guard us. I pray that you would allow us to have a release, a place where we can let go of all the pressures and the weight of the world, a safe place where we don't feel attacked, where we don't feel on guard, a place where we can just be free. God, I just thank you that you'll provide that safe space for each individual under the sound of my voice. I thank you for this conversation, that you'll use it to encourage somebody, for somebody to know that they are not by themselves, that they're not isolated, that they are not alone. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. It's been good, man.
Crazy thing is, we talked about always being on guard. I ain't even feel comfortable closing my eyes during the prayer. But
that's all of that. All of that.
Still work. He's still working with me.
I very rarely do myself. I don't close my eyes that much either.
Follow us on social media, Instagram and Facebook with the social media platforms.
Flowing Life Charlotte on Instagram, Flowing Life on Facebook, YouTube, Flowing Life.